used to be obsessed with a game called Ark. You might have heard of it. In fact, I put a combined 12,000 hours into it, and I was a full-on Ark YouTuber for multiple years until I decided to take a leap and try making different kinds of videos, explaining the stories of other games. And the first one I tried? A little game called Palworld. Okay, maybe not so little, but Palworld has a special place in my heart because it allowed me to pull myself from the clutches of a toxic franchise and escape into a stylized world of adorable creatures, addicting busy work, and best of all, lawsuits with Nintendo. I'll never forget what Palworld did in showing me what was possible as a creator. But beyond that, Palworld has lore, and for whatever reason, nobody else seems to want to cover it. With the 1.0 update having just dropped, catapulting Palworld out of early access and onto the main stage once again, and after Palworld absolutely clowned on Nintendo in court, well, I couldn't help myself. I want to celebrate the success of this game and the courage that Pocket Pair showed in standing up to bullies and seeing their vision through to the end. And speaking of that end, well, we finally have answers to a whole lot of things in regard to Palworld's in-game story. In this video, we're going to cover it all. Where did Palworld's story begin? How did its characters and pals shape its identity? And how does the narrative conclude? What fate do the pals themselves have in store? And for the love of God, did they finally add more than one journal entry for Axel? Why is he like this? I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Grab your pal spheres, your gliders, and your favorite friends, and let's get into the full story of Palworld. I'm going to assume this is the first Palworld lore video you've seen from me. So let's start from the beginning and establish Palworld's ground rules for its universe, just so that we're all on the same page about the wheres, the whens, and the hows. In Palworld, your player character wakes up in a mysterious land which we call the Palpagos Islands. Equipped with a basic loincloth to cover your bits and bobs, you have nothing to your name other than a strange tablet you wake up next to with some cryptic words of wisdom on it. But the stories of these islands go way back, at least 1,000 years before the events of the player. So let's go back in time. First of all, where are the Palpagos Islands? Well, they're on Earth, but they're hidden, like really hidden. So much so that the place is shrouded in a magical fog that simply makes it invisible from far away unless you sail close enough into it. Whether it was always shrouded in fog like the later Castaway character describes, or this was a more recent occurrence, is something we'll understand later on. But why was this island hidden away anyway? Well, there's a good chance it's due to the magical World Tree that has so much influence over the Palpagos Islands in the first place. We can't seem to find any notes that suggest its origin, and while we don't know when the tree was planted or when it grew, the World Tree was essential to life on the Palpagos Islands. This was due to its far-reaching, deep roots being the source for both the pals and presumably the invaluable resources scattered around the land. Long before the Castaway or you, the player, showed up, the Palpagos Islands thrived with the presence of an ancient, advanced human civilization. Their culture was that of collaboration and deep appreciation for pals, with many of the pals being worshipped outright. But before this civilization grew to its peak, an anomaly came into existence. What was more or less a human-shaped god called Auri. Whether Auri was created by the World Tree or is just an oddly human-looking alien, we don't know. She is immortal, having lived for hundreds, likely thousands of years. Her journal entries recount the very early days of the Palpagos Islands and their residents, all the way up to the player's time. What you're about to hear is one of the many voice actors I paid for this video to voice all the different main characters in the game, since Palworld won't do it themselves. So, I hope you enjoy.
These human creatures are certainly extraordinary. If I had to describe them in a single word, it would be insatiable. They're never satisfied, and they don't know when to stop. In the few centuries since I settled on this island, they've built the most advanced civilization on the planet. And that giant tree, I think they called it the World Tree? Honestly, I've grown quite fond of them. They never tire me out. Watching them is just so much fun.
While the technology on the island back in the day was inconceivably advanced and everyone was seemingly just chillin', having a good time, this peace would not last forever. Nearly the entire civilization was about to be wiped out by a force known simply as the Calamity, and this entity was not alone. So what happened exactly? Yo, just letting you know, since it's not always clear, our videos are made without Gen AI. I pay real voice actors, real 2D and 3D artists, all because Sam Altman and his huge data centers
can fuck right off into collapse.
And if you've liked this video so far, please click the like button. Thank you. So remember that ancient civilization? Well, as one of the many ancient people we're talking about from this time period, Zenara became a researcher with one goal: to bring about peaceful coexistence between humans and all other sentient life. This ambitious ideal motivated her to study life, making her a perfect candidate to look into a new anomaly. An unknown entity had just crash-landed from space, right at the base of the World Tree, and researchers in the area decided Zenara would be perfect for leading the study of this bizarre creature.
As of today, I've been appointed as supervisor of a biological research project. The research subject is a small, unidentified life form that crash-landed at the base of the World Tree. It's limbless, dragon-like, and pure white. It's safe to assume that it's still a juvenile. Further observation and experimentation to come.
The alien creature was eventually named Astrolem. It did not take long for Zenara to become rather puzzled at its biology. Clearly, the creature was not of Earth, having no mouth, no digestive system, and no obvious way to reproduce. Zenara acknowledges that while pals are unconventional creatures themselves, at least they still have basic biological functions. Astrolem, on the other hand, did not. It was around when Zenara began studying the alien that she would come to meet the rather curious Auri.
A bit of time has passed since I started mingling with the humans. This is the first time I've ever written another entry so soon after the last one, but I just met a truly incredible human. Her name is Zenara. When we first met, I could hardly believe she was human at all. Of course, she looks the part. I found out she's also the one leading the research on that life form from the stars. Well, of course she is. She's what you'd call a once-in-a-generation genius. While we were having that chat at the base of the World Tree, I started to feel a bit strange. It's odd. For a being like me, the concepts of health and sickness aren't supposed to exist.
Zenara and Auri went on to become friends, but unfortunately this would turn out to be tragic Yuri because of what happened next, hinted at by Auri mentioning how she started feeling a little strange. As Zenara further studied Astrolem, she discovered its true nature. While she had grown attached to the thing, which by this point had begun to crudely speak with Zenara in broken English through telepathy, the researcher finally discovered its primary function. Astrolem absorbed matter around it to grow, to reproduce, or simply to proliferate itself. The worst part about this was that it had no choice. It wasn't trying to grow. It was just happening. All it could do was hold back. Zenara explains it as follows.
It absorbs energy from the planet to fuel its growth, while simultaneously converting that power into a completely unknown form of energy within its body. It's a mechanically perfect life form, one that has no need for sentience. It would be so much simpler if it didn't have any. Having grown to a massive size, it has begun communicating with me through an unknown means, its voice resonating directly inside my mind. Though its attempts are clumsy, it is trying to use our language. It bears us no ill will. If the top brass discovers the truth about it, the consequences will be dire. They'll either demand its extermination, or seek to weaponize it. I must find a way forward.
Fearing that the Ancient Council would either kill Astrolem or weaponize it, Zenara chose to hide the creature away, keeping her findings secret while searching for a solution. All the while, Astrolem desperately tried to hold back its power so it wouldn't absorb the energy from everything around it. Eventually, though, the council found out Zenara was keeping something from them.
She's hiding something. Vexing as she is, her genius is undeniable. She has made a breakthrough, and she intends to keep us in the dark. No doubt she stumbled upon a harsh truth, one that inconveniences her ridiculous fantasy of coexisting with all living things.
So, how do we proceed?
Freeze the project. By whatever means necessary, neutralize the White Dragon in a highly visible manner, and parade that fact to the public.
Understood. I'll notify Zenara of...
Don't bother. We have no time to waste debating a naive girl. At the end of the day, she is merely a single researcher. Cut her loose.
A boiling point was reached. The ancient people of the World Tree tried to kill Astrolem, but Zenara refused to let it happen. According to a scorched piece of paper, It appears as if Zenara offered herself to be absorbed or partially used by Astralim as the two of them became closer than ever, bonding over a fight for survival. Zenara simply wanted humanity to coexist with pals and other sentient creatures, but her ideal became twisted, and she made a decision that changed everything.
That child and I, what did we do to deserve this? The houses are burning down. The people are melting away. And yet, my heart feels lighter somehow. This must be how I truly feel. How long has it been since a smile last crossed my face? Let our march begin until your wrath and mine burn this entire planet to a cinder. Auri, I'm sorry.
With Zenara's rage, Astralim became the Calamity. It went full scorched earth, destroying everything in its path. And Auri happened to be awake to witness the massacre.
After burning most of the surface to ash, it tore through the sky, intent on bringing ruin to Sunreach. I didn't hold back. I split lakes, shattered hills, sacrificed a massive portion of this land, and even then, I lost. That thing was feeding off the planet itself. Before that beast, we are like helpless infants. Had the battle drawn out any longer, it would have ended in my death. If it weren't for their help.
Just as Auri was about to be slain, a group of the strongest pals and ancients on the islands banded together to not only fight the Calamity, but to seal it away. These wise ones raised 8 towers on the island, with an accompanying 8 devices known as key spheres, which, with their combined power, allowed them to trap and lock the Calamity inside the abyss of the World Tree, ending the massacre at last.
In the face of death, the human children and their powerful pals put their very lives on the line. Because they fought to the end to seal the monster inside the World Tree, I am still breathing. It's pathetic, really. I, who am supposed to possess such immense power and live for eons, am only alive right now because of their sacrifice. I have a duty to end this calamity, once and for all.
By the time the Calamity was sealed away, the damage it had done was irreversible. The ancient people had been almost entirely wiped out. Pals, cities, technology, so much had been lost to the destructive entity and its desperate caregiver. For a while after that, Auri spent a long time doing what she could to help those who remained. She sought to help them continue surviving and assist in rebuilding with what they had. To Auri and the remaining civilization's benefit, one species of Pal was capable of protecting them from the Calamity inside the World Tree. A Pal species known as the Panthalus had only 2 remaining of its kind, a mother and her child. Auri was able to partner with and use the Mother Panthalus to erect a magical barrier around the World Tree, before the Mother Panthalus died from her injuries. This barrier made it so only someone being guided by a Panthalus could enter. Auri then tied the last Panthalus, the child, to the barrier itself, in a sense. Basically, she made it to where those who wished to enter the World Tree would have to defeat or make friends with the Panthalus for it to guide them through the barrier. Now, unfortunately for the remaining residents of the Palworld Islands, the Calamity would not stay sealed for good. Even while it was trapped, it was consuming the World Tree, slowly but surely. This caused some pals on the islands to start rampaging. And these rampaging pals were essentially starved of the World Tree nutrients, causing them to be violent to all pals and humans not of their species. Incapable of being tamed and hungry for murder, these pals were a threat to civilization and life on the Palworld Islands. Someone had to come along and fix this, and for whatever reason, that someone had to be a human, according to Auri. With this apparent wisdom, Auri waited. She had faith that a sole human would be the key. She anticipated this human had a destiny to fulfill, a destiny to prove their strength, defeating all the foes in their path, and at last reach the World Tree and slay the Calamity. Over the next few hundred years, island residents came and went, factions were formed, small wars were waged, but the one constant was the presence and the upkeep of the ancient towers responsible for sealing the Calamity away in the first place. All 8 of them had to be occupied, they had to be guarded, and these guards are what we refer to as the tower bosses. Like I mentioned, there are 8 towers across the vast landscapes of Palworld. Through the lush green valleys, the icy mountains, the gravity-defying floating islands, or the harsh cliffs of Faybreak, the diverse environments of the Palworld Islands over time gave rise to distinct cultures. These cultures were largely tied to the towers and the duty of the tower bosses. Yet over the hundreds of years that followed, people had increasingly forgotten what exactly the towers did. Even the descendant tower bosses themselves, as there are 8 of these bosses in total. We'll run through them in a pretty straightforward manner, especially since Palworld's 1.0 launch has made characters like Zenara and Auri have much more relevant actions for the wider narrative compared to someone like fucking Axel. Starting off with the very first, we've got Zoe Rain. She guards the first tower you're likely to stumble upon in the game, and she's also probably the one character you've seen the most in Palworld's marketing. This goth baddie doesn't have a family.
I don't have a family.
Her dad, the previous boss of the tower she now occupies, went to prove himself with a final test that another tower boss named Bjorn had given him. The details of said test are unknown, but according to Bjorn,
it was a task even a child could manage, but he never returned.
So with Zoe's dad having seemingly perished, the young Zoe took over in his place and went on to gain notoriety in their ragtag band of misfits, a group referred to in-game as the Syndicate Thugs. Unfortunately, like most of the tower bosses, Zoe's couple of journal entries do little in the way of giving us answers to the wider narrative. The main takeaway about her is that, number 1, she loves her pal companion, a loyal Griswold. Number 2, she doesn't really understand or care about the conflicts between factions, including the conflict involving her own syndicates. And number 3, Zoe honestly just wants to fucking leave the Palpagos Islands and be free. As it had been hundreds of years by now since Zenara and Astralim did all their shit and got absolutely ratioed for it, Zoe was the new gen, and she didn't really know much about why herself and others, these generations of people, were protecting the damn towers anyway.
Sometimes I wonder if there's anything beyond the sea.
While Zoe's pretty indifferent about the state of things, our next tower boss is a bit more emotionally invested. What is there to say about Lily Everhart? Well, not much to be honest, other than the fact that she's the de facto leader of a faction called the Free Pal Alliance, who happen to be in a constant, seemingly pointless ongoing conflict with the Syndicate Thugs. Lily's whole thing is that she loves pals, and she loves them so much that she gets scarily murderous at the thought of people exploiting or harming them in any way. Much like Zenara, who honestly feels like a bit of a copy and paste now, Lily's ultimate goal since she was a young girl has been to bring about a harmonious coexistence between humans and pals.
On some distant shore of the island, there exists an islet where certain pals live. Not a single one of their kind resides on the main island. I do not know the reason they exist there, but I am certain that they must be protected. Just imagining those poachers setting up a hideout there and ruining their way of life is enough to make my blood seethe.
Lily might just be the most pal-loving person to exist in the game's universe, but there's a dark truth to her organization that up until the 1.0 update, her character appeared totally ignorant towards. Despite Lily establishing the FPA with a clear mission of protection and preservation, members of the organization eventually went behind her back and started selling pals that they'd been protecting for quick cash. You can find Lily's hideout note in-game, and it reads a bit like a manifesto, to be honest. In it, she describes how she found out one of her closest friends had done this behind her back because apparently money had been tight since the woman's divorce. Weird detail, but okay. Lily ends her note by basically saying she has no other option but to let her rage take over. That remind you of another character by chance? What's weird to me is that this little note was added in the full release version of the game and definitely adds much more anger towards her own organization, which we didn't really see before. And what makes that strange to me is that this is the same massive update to the game that added a final boss whose entire deal is that she got really mad that people were trying to kill her, okay, I'm just gonna say pal, because, come on, it's basically pal, I don't care if it's an alien, but ultimately she went full scorched earth because of this. I'm not sure why Pocket decided to make Zenara's character a near carbon copy of Lily, while simultaneously making Lily even more like Zenara at the same time. I guess at the very least, the biggest difference between these two is that Lily does basically fuck all in the grand scope of the narrative, and then Zenara, on the other hand, decided to do an Israel. Moving on to the next tower boss. Oh, you're telling me they had 2 years to turn Palworld from the broken early access mess that it started as into easily my favorite survival game to date, and they couldn't add anything more to this character? Are you fucking kidding me? Why does he exist?
Sawed off, my lightning's tougher than high kings.
Axel is the tower boss of the volcano, and he has one journal entry where he raps about wanting to find a powerful opponent to fight. This is an animation I did a while back, but fuck man, I was really expecting we'd get something come on! Oh yeah, also Axel is the leader of this meaningless group called the Brothers of the Eternal Fire. But speaking of fire, you know what's also hot? A desert. Yeah, smooth transition, I know. The next tower boss is a guy named Marcus Dryden. And long story short, this guy feeds his bird pal cocaine and controls an entire drug trafficking operation, as well as leading a group called the Palworld Islands Defense Force, or PIDF. Basically, bro controls the drug trade and then arrests people with his corrupt police, confiscating the drugs so he can then sell it on the black market and then arrest people again. He basically found the infinite money glitch. And there's this one quote of his that kills me every time I hear it, mainly just because of how the voice actor I paid to do it, voiced it. It's just really funny.
If I let them get carried away, they'll just go off demanding rights.
But while Marcus doesn't take human rights very seriously, tower boss Victor Ashford doesn't really believe in them at all, because, man, this guy is a freak. Victor is the tower boss in the Snowy Mountain region, and he's all about uncovering the remnants of the ancient technology, as well as doing PAL experiments en masse. I would not be surprised if he tested on and sacrificed humans as well. Also, bro kinda looks like Gojo from JJK. Unfortunately, his journal entries contain little in the way of substance for the lore. He's basically just a Redditor.
On interspecies PAL experiments, results, failure.
Luckily, the last 3 tower bosses are far more substantive and generally interesting as characters, which takes us to Saya Kurosaki. She is the most recent descendant from the Kurosaki clan to be in charge of guarding their tower, which, according to her, is a miserable and stagnant custodial duty. Over the course of her journal entries, it seems like she actually anticipates and feels the calamity slowly consuming and destroying the tree. Saya pretty much just wants to die, and it sounds like she's depressed as hell. She should see a therapist, I think.
I am a fucking architect.
It is clear to me, this creature is the one who will lead us to the end. Now to just sit and wait. Please destroy us, and with death, we shall be released from our shackles.
While Saya is awaiting death, whether from the calamity eventually breaking free and consuming the entire world, or by being defeated by some human to come fulfill the prophecy, she's not alone in her longing. Tower boss Bjorn Seligsson, found over on Faybreak Island to the west, has also been waiting for quite some time, guarding his own tower. Being perhaps the second oldest tower boss, Bjorn is largely invested in finding a worthy opponent to battle, as he's very concerned with the future of the Palworld Islands and has continued for seemingly most of his life to train so he can be strong enough to take on the calamity should it ever escape, a day which he is very much expecting to come. Bjorn is a character that actually gives us a lot of useful information about the history, especially pertaining to the day Astralum went on a killing spree. See, Faybreak appears to have previously been a floating island alongside the newly added floating islands where Auri lives. But when the calamity struck, well, I'll let Bjorn explain.
Thousands of years ago, when the colossal fortress still stood in this land, it appeared suddenly. The heavens shattered and we fell disgracefully. Our kin, who once looked down upon others from the sky, fled in panic. My ancestors did not abandon this land, reduced to ashes, nor its people. From that moment, fallen from the sky, we forged an unchanging resolve, becoming the people of the Faybreak.
Bjorn also gives us more details about who all made up the supposed Avengers-level force of pals that helped to seal away Astralum.
The battle against it did not end. Even with the aid of a thunder dragon, we could not bring about its destruction. This land became still, unseen, and leaving the island became impossible.
While the legendary pals Bjorn mentions weren't able to kill the calamity, they did assist in sealing it away. Unfortunately, in their efforts along the way, the island was forever changed. For example, Bjorn mentions an eternal winter night, which likely means that seasonal time has essentially stopped. The seasons can no longer change. The Palworld Islands can't experience spring, summer, fall, or winter, trapped in their eternal winter night. Yikes. But what's more interesting is the little detail about the land becoming unseen, shrouded in fog, and how leaving the island became impossible. Once you're here, you can't leave. The last and easily the oldest tower boss is the one we introduced at the very beginning of this video, Auri. After the calamity was sealed and the people had suitable temporary aid, she would take seemingly decade or even century-long naps. Auri's final journal entry is written quite recently to the time of our player character, and she says this.
It's been a long time since I last wrote in this diary, but the moment I've been waiting for is finally drawing near. Before long, they will overcome every obstacle and stand right here before me. I don't intend to pull my punches, of course, but I am absolutely certain that human child is the one who will put an end to this endless, waking nightmare of a calamity. Well then, I'd better get ready to greet them with a big smile. I've even trained hard with my trusty pal for just this moment. At last, I can finally repay humans for my salvation, and I can finally lay them to rest. I've kept you waiting far too long, Zenara.
Auri, like all of the tower bosses, awaits you, the player, a kind of castaway. Before we, the player, come along and absolutely mog everyone with our insatiable desire for slavery,
back in my day, we didn't call them pals, I'll tell you that.
A separate character drifted up on the shores. At first glance, you might think it was the so-called destined one Auri and the others had been waiting for. This person had a thirst for exploration, and they're known as the Castaway. But how did they get to these mystical lands anyway? As we know, geographically, the Palworld Islands are nowhere. Rather, they're not visible to the outside world on maps. The place is shrouded in fog or magic that simply hides it. When the Castaway, who was originally just a regular person living somewhere else in the world, was cross-referencing different world maps, they noticed that a certain part of the ocean was simply empty. They expected islands to be in this oddly empty area, yet there was nothing. It's definitely plausible the Castaway was a geologist, because they were researching something about the geography. Regardless, they were awfully suspicious with their research. And this suspicion turned to an obsession, leading to the Castaway taking a boat by themselves all the way out to this so-called empty part of the ocean. And that was when they found the mysterious island through the fog. They were attacked by a water creature, and before they knew it, they woke up on a beach next to a tablet. Much like us players. The Castaway likely showed up on the island anywhere from a few days before us or a few years. But ultimately, they're more of a nod to the player experience than anything. What happened to the Castaway is unknown, and they have no real significance to the story, which is in stark contrast to you. After all, you have a world to save, right? You wake up with a fuzzy memory with no idea how you got here, let alone what it is you're doing here. After waking up and yoinking the handy-dandy iPad next to you, you're likely to start picking up what the game is putting down, which would be branches. Press F. Yep, just keep pressing it.
I think I'm witnessing a fucking murder.
Oh
Can you guys see my screen?
Holy shit.
What the fuck is going on here?
Maybe he likes the water?
No! He does not like it. He's like, I can't swim! I can't fucking swim!
Eventually, your mission in the top right will lead you to a nearby village chief that gives you some basic lore and advice before sending you off to speak with Zoe, since her father allegedly has more information about Palworld. You and Zoe fight, and after beating her ass, she lets you keep the sphere she was guarding, known as the Key Sphere of Envy. She then explains that there are 7 more, and they have something to do with the legend, which by now you should know all about. Your player character, on the other hand, has no clue. They're just kind of along for the ride at this point. Your main story quest takes you around Palworld, where you uncover tidbits about the many tower bosses we've established. You'll learn about Lily, you head to her tower, beat the shit out of her, and move on, no questions asked. The townsfolk south of the volcano want some help with Axel, since he's being a bully, so you head over there, give him a real fucking slapping. Traveling the eastern dunes, you uncover the story of Marcus, the slums kid who founded the PIDF to restore some kind of order, only for it to be corrupt as hell. You defeat Marcus and proceed on with your mission to mog them all. You defeat Victor, Saya, Bjorn, and at last, you make it to Auri. After proving your might to the divine entity, she accepts you as the one to save Palworld and the world at large. And she proceeds to lore dump all about the calamity, the ancient civilization and its people, and Zenara. And this is when she tells you to seek out Pantalus, the last surviving member of its species, since that whale is the key to getting through the barrier surrounding the world tree. You go on a treasure hunt, picking up dead whale bones, you can craft a bone flute to play in front of a funny rock, so you can go into a happy little pocket dimension to assault and catch the last member of a thought-to-be-wiped-out species who's been living alone in isolation for thousands of years in relative peace until now. Wow, that was a long sentence. Moving on, you head to the World Tree and chat up the last surviving ancients who gained immortality from being sealed inside. You fight some bosses, disable the barrier to the inner seal, and then you open this funny gate with the magical pool balls, and finally take on... Okay, what's with the MILF?
Just Dane. It's really fucking dangerous. Strike now to stop it! Strike now to stop it! Die! 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 Die!
Kill it!
Oh my fuck.
After probably getting absolutely fucking spanked, you defeat Zenara and Astralam, saving the world from catastrophe. And then you promptly fall into the void, eventually opening your eyes to a familiar sight. It's the very first spawn-in cutscene. Except this time, you're surrounded by all your best pals. Oh, hi Zoe. That is a game that is still better than Pokemon. So where's the Palworld story gonna go from here? Well, we still have many questions that are currently left unanswered and gameplay aspects that are missing. For one, the fog that keeps us trapped on the island. Is the fog still happening? Will Pocket Bear give us a questline to repair the World Tree or release the fog, opening up Palpagos to the rest of the world? Also, this is somewhat unrelated, but what happened to the Castaway? What about us, the player character? Did we originally come to the island in pursuit of the Castaway? I'm really grasping at straws here. So many questions, and as usual, so few answers. Speaking of which, I do just want to say this. There's something that bothers me about the parallels between Lily and Zenara, and here's why. They both yearn for the coexistence of pals and humans, right? And yeah, sure, multiple people can feel that way, but Lily murdered humans to save pals. In her diary, she says that. So is that not, like, really psycho behavior? Is that not what a big bad evil would do? Zenara, on the other hand, wanted to save the alien thing, and in wanting to protect it, she turned on humanity and chose this alien over literally everything, but, like, why? In my opinion, it would make more sense if Lily, after being defeated by the player character, went into the World Tree and somehow joined with the Calamity. Imagine if Lily and Lylene were able to slip through the weakened barrier and enter the tree, maybe similar to the fog around the island, with things being able to enter but nothing being able to leave. Imagine if then Lily and Lylene joined or got absorbed by the Calamity, by Astralim, where they got decayed and mutated into abominations. The player character would have a much more emotionally intense battle at the end of the game because they would have been the one that had caused Lily to end up with such a fate. And it makes more sense for Lily to want to destroy all humans than Zenara, who communicated in all her journals prior to the incident that she just likes studying science and simply wanted peace and coexistence. I think there's a good chance that Pocket Bear liked what they did with Lily, and so for Zenara, they just copied over many of Lily's characteristics and added a sexy dark filter over it to make it feel more like a big, bad, mysterious boss.
I am a fucking architect!
Otherwise, she's kinda just empty. At any rate, that's just what I think, and I'm not a game writer, and I'm only one guy, so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But now I want to know, what do you think of Palworld's lore, now that it's pretty much done? Unless they add, like, 16,000 expansions like Arc. Oh. Where do you want to see the narrative go? Was it worth the hype? I want to give a special thank you to my patrons and YouTube members for helping support me and these videos. Thanks guys. If you liked this video, go ahead and click subscribe. And as a matter of fact, you also might like this video on the screen now. Just on the right there, go ahead and click on it. Okay, I'm gonna go Platinum Palworld now. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.